Yamaha Corporation. One of the largest international Japanese companies, which produces a wide range of products, including various musical instruments, home hi-fi, professional electronics, as well as motor vehicles. The history of the corporation began in 1887 when Torakusa Yamaha, the youngest son of astronomer Konosuke Yamaha, tried his hand at music making by repairing a broken reed organ. The result exceeded expectations, and Torakusa decided to set up his own company in Hamamatsu City, Shizuoka Prefecture, Honshu Island. This small company began by repairing and manufacturing keyboard instruments. From the very beginning, the company's logo indicated its musical orientation. Torakusa Yamaha was born on the 20th of May 1851 in Wakayama. From childhood, he was interested in astronomy and technology. However, his hobbies did not hold much promise, as up until the late 1860s Japan was largely an agrarian country that lagged behind the technological and scientific industries of Western countries. Nevertheless, Torakusa was lucky. His adulthood coincided with the beginning of major changes in the country. In 1871, Torakusa left for Nagasaki to learn to be a watchmaker under the guidance of a British engineer. Torakusa then moved to Osaka, where he was exposed to the latest medical technology of the time. The young engineer learnt the most promising technologies of medicine, and at the age of 35 decided to take a job as a repairman of medical devices in the hospital of Hamamatsu. There wasn't much work, as the town was small, equipment didn't break down often, and Yamaha skills weren't particularly in demand. One day, the local school asked Torakusa to repair a reed organ from the American manufacturer Mason and Hamlin. The master accepted the offer, but Yamaha realized that musical instruments were not his specialty. Nevertheless, there was no other experienced craftsman in town. To Torakusa's delight, he was able to find the breakage fairly quickly. What was important, however, was not that Yamaha had managed to repair the school organ, but that he had set up a small temporary workshop for the repairs, which was the small beginning of a larger enterprise. In 1887, Torakusa Yamaha, Tarasaku Fukushima, the school director who asked for the organ to be repaired, and a friend of Torakusa's from the hospital where he worked as a technician, decided to build their own organ. More specifically, Torakusa and his colleague from the hospital were in charge of making the organ, while Principal Fukushima supported the project financially. Eventually, Yamaha and his small team built their own organ and presented it to the management of the Institute of Music, now known as Tokyo University of the Arts. It is worth noting that this was no easy task. Torakusa and his mate carried the organ on their hands for 250 kilometers along a trail through the Hakone Mountains. This path was later memorialized with a special bas-relief. Music teachers at the institute did not like the first Yamaha organ because it was poorly designed and improperly tuned. Torakusa did not back down. He attended several music lectures, and in his small workshop he designed a new organ that was more highly regarded. Eventually, it came to the point where Torakusa received orders for organs. The first major order was an organ for the governor of Shizuoka Prefecture. The small workshop did not allow the budding music master to work as he wished, and in the spring of 1888, Torakusa was allowed to start production in an old abandoned temple in the town of Hamamatsu. It should be emphasized that Yamaha had already registered his own company a year earlier. In the new building, the company expanded rapidly and soon turned into an entire factory with assembly lines. The Japanese Minister of Education approached Torakusa Yamaha and suggested that he consider supplying musical instruments to schools. As a result, the Yamaha company made 250 harmoniums for schools in Japan. In 1892, the firm began exporting reed organs to Southeast Asia, and in 1897, Torakusa incorporated a new company called Nippon Gakki, that is, Japanese Musical Instruments. This business had already achieved corporate status. The first logo of the brand was a mythological bird with a tuning fork in its beak. The three cross tunings came later. In 1899, Torakusa Yamaha traveled to the United States for 6 months to see for himself how the local major musical instrument manufacturers operated. The trip ended with Nippon Gakki producing its first piano in 1900. And 2 years later, the company began producing grand pianos. In 1904, Yamaha keyboard instruments were highly appreciated at the World's Fair held in St. Louis, USA. In the same period, Torakusa Yamaha received the Japanese National Award, the Medal of Honor with a green ribbon. This award was given for professionalism and hard work. In addition, Torakusa managed to become director of the Hamamatsu District Railway and was elected to the City Council as vice chairman. In 1914, Nippon Gakki introduced harp harmonicas to its product range, which were in great demand in Japan due to the limited imports associated with the First World War. In 1916, Torakusa Yamaha became very ill. The illness was so severe that it led to Yamaha's death that same year at the age of 65. After Torakusa's death, Hayomaru Amono, the company's vice president, took over as director. At this time, the company's emblem was decorated with 3 crossed tuning forks. By 1920, Nippon Gakki had about 1,000 employees. The company produced instruments in batches of thousands. In 1922, the corporation produced its first hand-wound gramophone. However, the next 5 years were difficult. Problems started because of the changes in the Japanese economy, also the Nippon Gakki factory fire and earthquakes. Nevertheless, the corporation survived these difficult years. To compensate for the losses, the company's management launched production of propellers for aeroplanes and other aircraft parts that were in high demand. During World War II, Nippon Gakki plants produced parts for fighter planes. Between 1930 and 1950, Nippon Gakki had time to open its own acoustic laboratory, launch the production of wind instruments, master new technologies for the creation of piano and organ frames, and begin manufacturing guitars. By the mid-20th century, all of these achievements, including the aviation division, allowed the corporation to become one of the largest publicly traded businesses in Japan. In 1950, Genichi Kawakami took over as president of Nippon Gakki and decided to abandon parts for military equipment, including aeroplanes, and start motorbike production at the same facilities. The first motorbike bore the name of the company's founder and was labeled YA1 Red Dragonfly. The model was based on the German DKW motorbike. The Red Dragonfly motorbike proved to be a very successful product. To continue this line, in 1955 the corporation registered a division of Yamaha Motor Company. The main part of the corporation continued to be involved in manufacturing with a focus on the music industry. During those years, the company began opening its own music schools. The idea was to educate everyone and at the same time create a customer base that would need quality musical instruments. The strategy worked very well. The first hi-fi product from Nippon Gakki was a record player with a built-in amplifier. The model was called Yamaha Hi-Fi Player. The product was not a big breakthrough, but the beginning of a new direction was laid. Closer to the beginning of the 60s, the corporation began to open branches in other countries. The first were Mexico and the United States. These overseas branches began selling keyboard instruments to local music schools. In 1958, the company introduced the JA5002, a large bass speaker. This woofer was later incorporated into NS or Natural Sound Series loudspeakers, including the legendary NS20. Its design resembled the shape of a grand piano deck in order to provide more effective dispersion of sound waves. In 1959, the Yamaha Technical Laboratory was opened to work on analog modeling technology. The first product of the laboratory was the Elect-1 D1 transistorized electric organ. In the early 1960s, the corporation focused almost all of its energies and capabilities on sporting goods. Yamaha, officially still the Nippon Gakki Corporation, began manufacturing boats, skis, yachts, and other similar products. To increase demand for its products, the company came up with the idea of creating resort complexes where visitors would purchase the sports equipment they needed. In 1967, the NS speaker, which was built into the Elect-1 electric organ, was redesigned for hi-fi products. Thus, the first NS20 and NS30 loudspeakers appeared in the company's range, which featured unique designs with radiators on different sides. The company explained the idea by the desire to create loudspeakers with surround sound effect. By 1966, Nippon Gakki had become a world leader in piano manufacturing, producing 100,000 units a year. At the same time, Yamaha's European representative office opened, and the company's range of musical instruments was expanded to include drum kits and electric guitars. It must be said that Yamaha guitars quickly gathered their own club of fans, which at different times included John Lennon, Paul McCartney, Bob Marley, Brian May, Jimmy Page, Carlos Santana, Bruce Springsteen, and many other famous musicians. The early 70s were a period of success for Nippon Gakki in developing its own line of wind musical instruments and chip manufacturing. With new integrated circuit development departments, the company began to incorporate the latest digital technology into its electronic musical instruments. In parallel with musical instruments, the manufacturer continued to develop hi-fi equipment for the home. In 1972, the NS600 line of loudspeakers was introduced, which later included the NS670 and NS690 passive three-way speakers. The speakers were equipped with in-house manufactured drivers and were characterized by their ability to withstand heavy loads. Also in 1972, Nippon Gakki began assembling component audio equipment and released the CA700 integrated transistor amplifier. The 700 series also included the CA750 amplifier, the CT700 tuner, the YP700 and 500 vinyl turntables, and the TB700 cassette deck. In 1973, the Yamaha CA1000 amplifier was developed. It had a corresponding toggle switch on board for conversion to Class A. The model received an aluminium front panel, and the sides of the cabinet were made of natural wood. The design of the amplifier was handled by GK Design Group. The style of this product set the tone for many of the company's other products. The CA1000 power supply featured a massive transformer and two 18,000 microfarad capacitors. The A-class provided 15 watts per channel into 8 ohms, and the B-class provided 70 watts into the same 8 ohms. The model used discrete bipolar transistors, an OCL, output capacitor-less, output and no IC chips. In 1974, the company launched the later legendary NS1000M series of loudspeakers. These systems featured beryllium dome diaphragms in the tweeters and mid-range. Beryllium, being an extremely brittle but very suitable material for loudspeakers, required a lot of effort from the company's engineers. As a result, vacuum deposition technology was invented. The NS1000M speakers were, in fact, the first Japanese speakers to compete on an equal level with their Western rivals, and eventually became a worldwide hit. In 1976, the NS1000M were used by the Swedish State Broadcasting Corporation, and in 1978 such speakers were ordered by the Finnish national broadcaster. Simultaneously with the famous speakers, the Elect 1 CSY-1 organ with synthesizer functions was released, as well as the iconic B1 power amplifier built on VFET transistors. In 1975, Yamaha's catalogue included the top-of-the-line YP1000 vinyl player with a Shure V15 Type 3mm cartridge. Together with this premium product, the company offered a high-end FM tuner CT7000, which took 4 years to develop. In 1976, the Yamaha CS80 synthesizer was released, which is considered one of the most interesting and exemplary products of those years in its category. At the same time, the manufacturer showed the C2 preamplifier, P2200 power amplifier, HP1 isodynamic headphones and TC800 GL cassette deck with a unique design. A little later, the corporation added a new generation of components to the lineup, including the CA1003 and the flagship CA2000 amplifier with arrow indicators of signal level and the ability to work in pure Class A. In 1977, the A1 amplifier was introduced with a new DC, direct current coupling, concept that completely eliminated capacitors from the signal circuit. Another year later, the Japanese giant released the PX1 vinyl player with a tangential tone arm, the NS451 budget shelf speakers with white paper cones and the very successful NS10M professional monitors with a closed cabinet. These monitors have gained popularity all over the world. Almost all recording studios at one time or another tried Yamaha NS10M model. NS10M monitors were equipped with 35mm soft dome tweeters and 180mm main drivers with ferrite magnets and white paper diaphragm. In 1979, Yamaha released the A9 integrated amplifier, which became the new flagship and replaced the CA2000. The new model had 5 toroidal transformers for 15,000 microfarad capacitors, an output impedance control function and a pure current servo amp system for constant current in the power and ground lines, which eliminated their influence on the passing audio signal. In the early 1980s, the company opened the Piano Technical Academy Educational Center, introduced the YIS computer system and launched the B6 power amplifier with a unique pyramidal design and a power supply with high-efficiency X-Power technology. It delivered 200 watts per channel into 8 ohms. The same year saw the introduction of the NS693 acoustic system, which featured a bass driver cone made from spruce cellulose. The same wood was used for Yamaha grand pianos. Among other things, during those years a guitar factory was opened in North Hollywood, California, which cooperated with professional guitarists. In 1981, the company introduced its first CD player, the Yamaha CD1, with a drive mechanism that moved out with the tray. It had separate power supplies for the digital and analog parts, a glass laser lens and a special control system. In 1983, the manufacturer started using a new amplifier technology called ZDR. The first product based on this system was the A2000 amplifier. The essence of ZDR was that the signal was amplified in parallel in Class A and AB and was combined to eliminate even the slightest distortion. The model produced 150 watts per channel at 6 ohms with distortion coefficient of 0.003%. Also in 1983 was released electronic piano Clavinova YP30 and the best-selling 80s digital synthesizer Yamaha DX7. At the same time, Hiroshi Kawasaki took over as president of the company, and his father became chairman of the board. Because of the disagreements between father and son, mistakes were made in the construction of the company's offices in the USA and Great Britain, as well as the failure to enter the market of personal computers. All this reduced the speed of the company's development, but the company continued its work. By 1985, Yamaha's lineup included a new generation of CD2000 and CD2000W CD players based on the company's VMA technology to eliminate vibration. A year later, Yamaha launched the DSP-1 digital sound field processor, which eventually became the basis for today's home theater processors. In 1987, a significant change took place. In honor of the centennial of its founding, Nippon Gakki changed its name to Yamaha Corporation and removed the tuning forks from its logo, leaving only the word Yamaha. At the same time, Yamaha Artist Services cultural centers began to open all over the world, which cooperated with various government agencies and provided free assistance to young talented artists. In the same year, Yamaha bought 51% of the shares of Korg, its competitor in the production of keyboard instruments and various electronic equipment. A year later, the corporation also acquired the American synthesizer manufacturer Sequential Circuits. As for the hi-fi of that period, one of the main products was the CDX 2020 player of 1988 with 4 DACs on board. Also in '88, Yamaha released several successful models of cassette decks. In 1990, the company began opening musical instrument manufacturing plants in China. This significantly increased the number of products offered by Yamaha in this category. Nevertheless, the company was not going to give up home AV. And soon the AX2000A amplifier with the newest developments of the company went into production. In fact, this amplifier was the culmination of the development of technologies originating in the 70s and 80s. The device was a kind of demonstration that Yamaha was not going to abandon traditional quality hi-fi even in the era of fast transition to digital technologies and universal compact AV components on low-cost circuits. In 1991, Yamaha presented an unusual subwoofer active servo processing speaker YST-SD at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. In addition, Yamaha engineers introduced a new version of beryllium domes for the speakers, the surface of which had gold plating. Such tweeters were used in the active acoustic system GF1. It was followed by GT-CD1 CD player, which was made of wooden upper part and molded metal base. The unit weighed 24 kilograms. In 1992, Yamaha's Chinese factories were joined by factories in Malaysia and Indonesia. In the same year, Shizuke Ueshima became president of Yamaha Corporation. Between 93 and 99, Yamaha took several important steps in its development. First was the launch of silent piano technology, which utilized electronic key touch sensors and made it possible to practice even at night due to the correct tactile feel of the keys but completely silent operation. Yamaha later used this technology in other musical instruments, drum kits, guitars, violins, cellos, and so on. Secondly, in the mid-90s Yamaha released the 02R digital mixer, which became an important model for that time. However, the most significant events of the decade occurred in '98. At that time, Yamaha began to apply a range of new generation digital sound processing technologies for multi-channel cinema systems. In fact, it was in '98 that the company adopted surround sound enhancement technology, which became the basis for even the company's most advanced DSP modules. Also in '98, the company brought back its logo with 3 tuning forks in a circle. At the beginning of the new millennium, Shuji Ito, who had been with Yamaha Corporation for many years, took over as president. In 2003, Yamaha launched NSPF7 small near-field speakers in barrel-shaped cabinets and using 70mm drivers with lightweight rigid magnesium diaphragm. Then the top AV receiver Yamaha DSP-Z9 with THX Ultra 2 certification and YPAO smart speaker calibration system was presented. In 2004, the company began cooperation with the speaker manufacturer Klipsch. And in 2005 Yamaha became the owner of the German company Steinberg, which develops music software. A year later Yamaha bought all the shares of the Austrian piano manufacturer Bosendorfer. It is worth saying that in that period the production and development of keyboards and other musical instruments from Yamaha and its brands went particularly fine. The corporation regularly released new models and received awards. In 2010, Yamaha Corporation announced the TLF speaker, a flexible speaker technology that is only 1.5 mm thick. TLF stands for thin, light, flexible. A year later, Yamaha introduced the THR series of guitar amplifiers, which became very successful in the Yamaha catalog. In these combos, the company applied not only its extensive experience in creating high-quality DSP modules, but also a number of technologies to improve the sound quality of compact drivers. THR amplifiers in their updated form are still produced to this day. In 2014, Yamaha bought out the American company Revolabs Incorporated, the main activity of which is related to the development of wireless equipment for conference halls. Yamaha also took over Line 6, a company known for its digital guitar processors and pedals. Line 6 remains a part of Yamaha Corporation to this day. While very active in the field of products for musicians, Yamaha has not forgotten about hi-fi. For example, in 2019, the Yamaha WXA50 and WXC50 amplifiers, assembled in all-metal enclosures and utilizing wireless streaming technology, won the 2019 German Design Award. In the same year, Yamaha's top-of-the-line NS5000 loudspeaker system was highly rated by the jury in competitions such as the IF Design Award, German Design Award and Good Design Award. The NS5000 is based on the traditional massive shelf speakers of the 1970s, in particular, the NS1000M. The NS5000's driver diaphragms are made of a special synthetic fiber called Xylon with high strength and elasticity. It is considered that NS5000 loudspeakers became for Yamaha a kind of return to the roots. In parallel with these speakers, the company began to produce premium power amplifiers in traditional style. For example, the model AS1100, presented approximately in the same years as the mentioned acoustics, externally strongly resembled the devices of the 70s. It has a massive front, arrow indicators of signal level and even wooden sides. Kiyohiko Goto, the head of the department that worked on the AS1100, emphasized that his company tried to make the amplifier not only high quality, but also evocative. Takuya Nokota, who joined the company in 1981, played an important role in the development of the corporation. Until 2013, Nokota was one of the leading developers of the corporation, and after that he took the post of the president and remains in this position to the present day. Already in the first years of Nokota's presidential position, the company's profits increased by almost 10%. Nowadays Yamaha Corporation, including all its branches in different countries, employs about 30,000 employees. The company produces a wide range of different products. The main areas are production of musical instruments and creation of educational programs, development and production of professional and consumer audio equipment, production of various electronic components, as well as production of motor vehicles, where the leading positions are occupied by motorcycles. If we talk about consumer equipment, the corporation has a special separate group called Audio and Visual. This group offers soundbars and subwoofers, multi-channel AV receivers with support for smart technologies for immersive sound, wireless smart speakers, headphones and accessories. A separate subgroup includes hi-fi equipment and loudspeakers. In this category, Yamaha offers more than 10 different models of amplifiers and music receivers, as well as vinyl players and CD players. As for speakers, the manufacturer produces more than 10 models of classic floor standing and stand systems. Also in the catalogue there are special cinema speakers and various installation acoustics. Among the many interesting novelties of recent years, the following products can be highlighted. In 2023, Yamaha introduced affordable hi-fi receivers RN1000A and RN800A and compact speakers NS800A and NS600A. Both receivers support YPAO sound calibration to optimize sound for the room and are integrated with a proprietary MusicCast wireless platform. There's also support for DLNA, Spotify Connect, Tidal Connect and AirPlay 2. The RN1000A model additionally features a reinforced double bottom with a metal damping plate. The receivers have advanced DACs based on ESS Sabre ES9080Q with quality up to 32-bit 384 kHz and DSD 11.2 MHz via USB. Also in 2023, the company introduced the HAL7A headphone amplifier, designed for the YH5000 SE model. The MusicCast 200, a compact Bluetooth and Wi-Fi enabled music player, was also released in 2023. The device was equipped with built-in coaxial radiators, disc player, tuner, and several connectors for connecting external sources and headphones. In 2024, a system of soundbar with speakers and subwoofer True X soundbar system was added to the catalogue. The product features not only high-quality sound, but also a proprietary digital processing system for an immersive sound field. The flagship amplifier of the current lineup is the AS3200, designed for audiophiles. The company said that the amplifier was created with a special focus on the elaborate architecture, balanced circuitry, minimization of signal paths, separation of the analog part from the digital part, massive toroidal transformer, copper and brass elements. The AS3200 delivers up to 170 watts per channel at 4 ohms. Of course, the company paid a lot of attention to the appearance of the device. The arrow indicators became the central aesthetic element. To summarize the long history of Yamaha Corporation, it must be emphasized that this Japanese company has always adhered and still adheres to its own principles. Despite the constant changes in the industry, Yamaha, unlike many other competitors, has managed to maintain its identity and independence. The company successfully manages to balance between musical instruments, audio equipment, motorbikes, and industrial equipment, which makes it less vulnerable to crises. Representatives of the corporation believe that Yamaha is not just a trademark, but a symbol of quality and Japanese traditions that continues to follow its own path.